This is an example of developing a program from scratch in order to filter a series of numbers, doing a smoothing operation by averaging successive elements. I'm going to actually just go through this from scratch here and see what mistakes we make and try to fix them, and hopefully you can learn from those. So I'm actually going to start with a previous working program that comes from chapter 4. We had a program that would read in a series of numbers, and I'm going to copy that over to a new file. We're going to call it nums filter, and I'm going to start with that and modify it to do what we need. So let's see here. We need IO, we need the file stream. We're going to be using vector, so I'm going to keep those. And this program here reads in a series of numbers. This is a previously known working program, and gets those numbers into a vector, closes the file, and then just prints them out. So let me start off and just make sure that this is actually working as we expect it to. So I'm going to go ahead and compile that. Okay, so it looks like it's working. The file that we had there was called my file. Let's make sure that that's there. It's got those numbers there. I'm going to go ahead and change that to have 10 numbers. And let's create a series of numbers here. So let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 numbers. Okay, and let's see if it works like that. So go ahead and run the program again, and it looks like it's getting my 10 numbers and printing them out just fine. Alright, so now I'm going to go and try to convert this so that the getNumbers function is getNumbers operation is actually its own function. So let's see here. Let's create a function. This is going to be get numbers. We are going to read them into a vector. So I'm going to have it a void function. And I'll just name it getNums. And let's see here. I need to pass in. I'm going to go ahead and keep using that myfile.text for now. And so the only parameter is going to be the vector that is going to be passed. And we'll call that nums. Okay, now do I have it right? I know that I'm going to have to modify it. I'm actually going to read it into this vector here. Oh, so I'm going to have to make this pass by reference because I want that to be modified. Okay, let's go ahead and create this function here. Just going to put my return there, just make sure I don't forget it. And now I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this previous code that we had from this earlier function here, from this earlier main. Looks like that's all I'm going to need there. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Actually, let's just copy and paste it. Alright, so there's my copy, and let's paste it in here. Okay. So I'm going to need to declare my local variables, so I can pull this out and put it there. Alright, so I've declared the file stream. I open. If I fail, I return. Looks like here I need to fix this return, so because this function doesn't return anything. And so that's not actually going to make any change to the vector here. Alright, so now I need to read that in. I have to update this, so I'm reading it into nums. Okay. And oh no, actually that is incorrect. Let's see here. Let's go back. The first item in the file is the number of items that we want to read in. That's that first number here. So I actually need to declare this guy here. I'm going to go ahead and copy that and put it up here. Okay, so that's another local variable. That's the specified number of numbers. Alright, so we open the file. We read the first item, which is the number of numbers. We go ahead and make sure that we allocate enough memory for nums. Let me see here. Do I want to be doing that resize? That's an interesting question. Yes, I can be doing that. So when I call this function, I'm not going to have pre-allocated. And so let me go ahead and put a comment up here that makes that clear and say that parameter nums will be resized to the number of numbers. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read in my n numbers. I can see I'm using I there, so I'm going to need to declare that variable. Okay, and I close and return, so upon completion nums should have the numbers that were read. So let's try this now. I don't need those items anymore. I don't know what that C is doing there. Oh, that's any key to quit. Alright, we'll keep that. Okay, so this functionality has been moved up into the function. And so all I should have to do now is call my getNums function. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to say get nums, and I'll pass this vector here. Okay, and it's being passed by reference. It's being sized appropriately, so when we get done with this, this should be the vector. And now I'm going to keep that same printing, and so let's see if that works for us. Okay, so let's see here. Gonna go ahead and compile again, and I got something wrong. InFS was not declared in the scope, line 38. Let's see, so I'm on line 38 right now, and what's missing there? 38, so this is line 38, and it's telling me that InFS was not declared in the scope. Let's see, 38. InFS not declared. I don't see InFS here anywhere. I'm going to line 38. That is line 38 right there. I'm verifying that here. So let me see, why is it complaining about InFS? The compiler must be getting quite confused or something, because I don't know why it would be complaining about that here. Can I figure out what's going on? InFS is not declared in this scope. Let me see here. Let me see if there's something with that function call that's causing a problem. I and n were not declared in this scope. So here's I, here's n. Now that makes sense. I deleted this because I'd moved it up to the function, but I actually didn't want to delete it. And now I need to know n, but actually I don't need to use n there. I can use length. That should work. Okay, so let's see if that works. Okay, oh, it has no member named length. Is it size? I think it's size. Or actually, it might be len. Was it len? No, I think it is size. Okay, now at line 42, I have this comparison issue. So this is because I've got all the warnings turned on here, and it's being very, very picky. So I need to make this an unsigned if I'm going to be comparing with that value here, which is also unsigned. And actually, while I'm at this, let me go ahead and change this to a for loop, because we should really be using a for loop if we know how many iterations we're going to be doing beforehand, before entering that loop. Okay, so I walk through all the elements of the array, and I print them out. All right, so let's see what's happening here. All right, so that's working. However, right now the numbers array is going to be empty because we haven't done anything. Just out of curiosity, let me see what happens if I run it. Okay, so we can see that there's just nothing there. So now let's go back, uncomment this, and try to figure out why we were getting that weird error. Oh, now it's working. There was some earlier issue. Must have been with the way I had some missing declarations up here, perhaps. All right. Well, it's looking good now. So let's go ahead and run. And it looks to still be working. So it appears that I successfully moved the code that was here before into a function on its own. Now let's move this print numbers into its own function. So let's do that. So this is going to be another void, and we'll call this print nums. And we're going to take the int vector, and it's going to be, well, we can make it pass by value. I think that's okay. Unless we're going to do a very large one, in which case we want to make it a constant pass by reference. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, so that way a large number of numbers can be in there. We don't have to worry about the overhead of passing. And don't forget to make it a const, because we're not actually changing it here, so we want to make it clear that we're not changing it. Alright, so let's go ahead and grab this, and actually I'm just going to make a backup copy of this. I like to make lots of backup copies when I'm working, just in case, so I can go back to that. Alright, now let's move this material. So we've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. Oh, actually there's 5 lines. And let's bring that up into here. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and print out numbers there. Let's have our return. It's not essential, but it's good for clarity. So that should work. So we get the numbers, and then we can print the numbers, and we should be done. So let's compile that. Oh, made a mistake. Oh, the I again. So let's pull that out of there and move it over into the new function. Is there anything else? I was not. Oh, and we've got the unused variable I. So actually that warning tells us that we gives us another clue that we'd made a mistake there. But now let's go ahead and compile, and that took care of that. So is it running? Yes, it is. All right. All right, we're getting close. Now we're going to get to the real challenge of this program, which is to do the filtering. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new function here, which is called filter nums, and this is also going to take a pass by reference, and we are going to be changing it, so it's not going to be a constant pass by reference. It's just going to be a regular pass by reference. So let's copy that and go ahead and insert that down here. Okay, so I've got my parameter coming in, and let me go ahead and put my return and my closing bracket so I don't forget those. Alright, so let's just make sure that I got the function call working there. So I'm going to tell it to filter nums, but it currently doesn't do anything, and then I'll print the numbers again. And let's just make sure that works. This is incremental program development, step by step. When I make a change, keep working, see if it works. Alright, so my before and after is the same because my filter nums currently doesn't do anything. So that's good. Just for fun here, just to make sure I've got everything set up properly, I'm going to go through and walk through this array, and I'm actually going to just copy what I have here. So let's see, that's 5 lines. Okay, now instead of doing cout here, I'm just going to set this to 0. And again, this is just incremental program development. I just want to make sure I'm walking through the array properly, and if I am, I should get all zeros when I'm done running this program now. Okay, so let's try that. Let's quit, compile, run again, and good. I'm getting all zeros there, so that means I'm passing it properly. I've got my reference here, so when I write to it, it's actually updating the actual elements. All right, so now let me go ahead and make a backup copy of that. So now it's time to try to filter here. So let's see here. I'm going to average each element. I'm going to set each element to the average of itself and the next 2 elements. So this item is going to be equal to nums.at I plus nums.at I plus 1 plus nums.at I plus 2, all of that divided by 3. And that should give me my average. So let's see how that does. Make sure I compile. And I've got a problem here. Num was not declared in this scope. Where do I have num? Oh, I just forgot an S here, that's all. Okay, so let's try again. That worked. So let's run it. And I have a problem. So it aborted, which is not good. So let's see. I'm out of range on the vector. So that means I'm using an index here that is not valid. It's a very common error when iterating through vectors. So let's see here. What's the problem? I've got, let's suppose that this is 10. This is going to go from 0 to, so my I is going to go from 0 to 9. And so when I've got 0 here, I'm going to have 0, 1, 2. Oh, I see the problem. When I have a 9 here, I'm going to have 9, 10, and 11. 10 and 11 are not valid indices for a vector of size 10. So I need to take care to not access these things after the end of the vector. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to reduce this by 2. Whoops. Okay, so it's going to go to nums size minus 2. So if the vector was size 10, if this was 10, then it's going to go from, this is going to be 8. So it's going to go from I to I less than 8, which means it's going to go to I to 7. 0 to 7. And then I'll have 7 here, and I'll have 8 here, and then I'll have 9 here. And so we're good, because that's the biggest for a 10 item. But now I need to somehow fix, actually let me just see what happens there. And I know that I need to fix this. I know that that's not going to be right for the last 2 elements. So I'm going to put a fix me comment here. Take care of last elements. Okay. And actually let me be clear here that this function averages by adding current element, averages by let me see, smooths by averaging, by setting element to average of itself and next 2 elements. How's that? Alright, so here I need to take care of the last element. So I know that this is not going to be right for the last two elements. Okay, so it looks like I've got some good smoothing going on here. That's good. But I know that these last two elements are not right. Now I need to think a little bit about that. What do I want to do with those last two elements? For the second to last one, I can probably just average it. So for this one, it's going to be okay. It's going to average. This is going to average with these two. And you can see that that's working. Now this one, I probably want to just average with itself and the next one. So here I got to I minus 2. So what I'll probably just do is add another one here just to take care of that last one. Oops, here we go. Alright, nums.at. So I'm currently going to be at, let's say if this was 8, I'm going to currently be at 8. So I'll set that equal to nums.at I plus nums.at I plus 1, and all of that divided by 2. So notice it's divided by 2 now because I'm just taking the average of the last two elements there. And then the last element doesn't need any, so I'm just going to say last element needs no averaging. Alright, then I should be done with that. So I'm going to delete that fix me comment. And let's see how it's working now. Okay, it looks like it's working for the second to last element here, because the average there would be 73.5, which gets integer rounded down to 73, and so on. So it looks like we're working. So we got our smoothing filter working properly.